Welcome to Whiskey and Windage, the 2A podcast for the people, by the people. I'm your host, Mike from OCA, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Matt from Burning Powder and Adam from Silver Bullet. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Man, it's a great day. It's a great day. It's going to be a great podcast.
Man, happy to be here, brother.
Heck yeah. So, guys, excuse me, I don't want to start talking a whole lot about everything because we have a really good show lined up. So we are going to be joined by Keith from the 2A Boys and Andrew from Tactical Mia. We don't have the kids on. We're not looking to talk to the children. We've had the 2A Boys on before. They're cool. Tactical Mia, if she ever wants to come on, she's got an open invite, but it's going to be strictly a podcast about her and what she does in the competition world. We don't want to involve kids in honestly, adult conversation. So, yeah, that's going to be a great show. We've also got some 2A news, and Adam may have a little info for us on the review that's going to be posted to the page. But before we get into those 2A news and reviews, it's time for the first segment, which is going to be
T-shirt time.
It is 12 time.
It's T-shirt time.
So guys, in this segment, what we do is as a group, we decided we wanted to rock friends of the show, small businesses, really get their names out there and try to help promote them. We decided, for the most part, we don't want to wear our whiskey and windage swag on the show. Maybe you'll see one of us wear it every now and then, but the goal is to wear somebody else's shirt. So if anybody has a shirt they want us to rock, and you are 2A, DM us, get at one of us, tell us a size, or let us, we'll tell you a size, ship them out, we'll rock them and give you a shout out. So today I'm going to shout out one of the homies, been down since day one. I'm gonna shout out Burning Powder Kicking Brass with his Gadsden take, the join or die with the snake. I definitely like I like the design. I love how the shirt feels. And I definitely like what the Burning Powder brand stands for. So proud to wear this one. Adam, what you rocking today?
Man, so we just had Mr. Brent Tucker on the last podcast with FRCC,
Yeah.
First Responder Coffee Company and First Responder Cigar Company. Mr. Brent, your guys' stuff's coming, but he did send me out a shirt and also some really yummy cigars. Had one last night. They're amazing. Brent, shout out. Appreciate you. And, yeah, shout out.
Hell yeah. Matt, what small business you representing, homie?
Shameless self-plug. I am also wearing the Burning Powder Kicking Brass Join or Die Gadsden tape shirt.
Man, if I had a "You're So Vain" soundbite, I would play it right now.
You ever seen that Snoop Dogg acceptance speech?
Yes.
I want to thank me. So
Hell yeah. So without further ado, man, let's go ahead and turn it over to Adam. Yeah, Adam's doing the 2A news today, so Adam, take it away, brother.
All right, guys, this week in the 2A news, Mr. Wayne LaPierre, the CEO and... Mr. I knew it was coming every time. The CEO and vice president of the NRA is officially stepping down. He put his resignation in and was accepted by the board. So Mr. LaPierre has been in the NRA since 1977, so pretty much his entire life, like working life as an adult. Lots of lawsuits coming his way, and so far the NRA has paid over $18 million for his lawsuits. But that's okay, because Mr. LaPierre is leaving the NRA with a nice retirement check of about $17 million. So,
he got the golden parachute. Man, dude, that's $35 million. So that doesn't even count what he's made through. Man.
Doesn't.
So, Adam, LaPierre sounds French, and I was like, sacre bleu.
Oh, no.
But, let's play the French sentence real quick. because I know you'll know the answer to this. Menage.
Trois.
That's like the only French Adam knows. So,
The only French.
I got a couple of French tricks on my sleeve, but this is a peachy show this week, guys. So, but as the guy, yeah, Mike.
You're welcome.
Where does all that money come from?
Exactly. And that's my point. Where does that money come from? That's $35 million of donated money or given money to the NRA. So all you lifetime members that got the free tote bag and the cool jacket, great.
Dude, that don't make sense because how many NRA members are there? About what? How many million? 4?
Well, currently there's about 4 million. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a member of the NRA, but man, like 4 million people paying out for that. Dude, they richer than I am. That's why I can't afford to join the NRA. It's a lot of dang money they just paid out.
Yeah, but you got to understand. You don't think the NRA invests a lot of that money? Has hit like the lifetime members like. That the NRA is old, man. They've been doing stuff for a long time, so their pockets are deep. And let's be honest, they're a lobbyist. I don't care what you say, they're lobbyists, and they're horrible at it. They've been horrible at it for a long time. They've lost more than they've won, and Charlton Heston would not be happy.
Well, that's something else I want to say about if you're going to donate your money to people, whether it be the NRA, that foundation, or you want to go to another foundation, you want to go to another entity, whether it be, what is it, FPC? You want to go to GOA? You want to go to any of those? Yeah. I highly recommend you get online and do your research. I mean, don't take my word for it. Do whatever you want. But, look at what they're doing for the community. I don't want to say don't support people that aren't doing it because if you look, everybody's doing something. So they all have their space. If you're doing anything, if you've had one court case and you are trying to help protect the 2A, like, we're down with you anyway. Like, I don't care. But if you're going to donate money, donate accordingly. Do your research. It's just like donating anything else.
What's it going to do?
FPC right here all day. I'm an FPC member, so that's where my money goes.
So does the NRA have a chance to come back, you think?
That's a good question. I think possibly. I think if they get the right person involved, they actually get a leader, and the board members can speak up and actually care. The problem is it comes down to the board members at this point. Do they actually care about 2A rights, or are they just cool with getting their dividends? If they're cool with their dividends because they're all making a nice chunk of change too, then they're going to be status quo. But I mean, the problem is the NRA has lost over 2 million members in the last couple of years. So they were over 6 million at one point. From my understanding, they're down to about 4 million from the research I did. And the last time they were at 4 million members, it was like 2012.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just like anything, including big government. I mean, the longer people are in there, I don't want to say anything negative. I want to be as transparent and as neutral as possible. The longer people stay in a position, the easier it is for people to say that
to abuse money and power.
Well,
complacency too.
Yeah, you start getting complacent, and it's easy to let things slide, and it's easy to start looking at your own personal agendas. And I'm not saying it happens all the time. I'm just saying it is a possibility.
Yeah. So hopefully they can turn themselves around. I hope so. For the 2A community, I hope they can. Like, I will be.
God, we need the NRA. We need the NRA. But
like, what happened to the Charlton Heston days? Like, with rifle out of my cold dead hands, right? What happened to that?
Yeah, we need the NRA that we deserve. That's what we need.
Yeah. So I hope so. The last part of the 2A news today will be SHOT Shows next week. Guess what, guys? If you didn't get invited, you don't got a plane ticket, you don't got a hotel room, you're probably not going. Sorry.
No.
Whiskey and Windage 2025 SHOT Show, gentlemen. We need to make it a thing. 2024 is it's not going to happen. It's not there, unfortunately.
I don't know, dude. I'm down to go, but we're making friends in all these other places, and you're going to tell us about one soon. But we're making all these friends. I don't know, dude. I would rather go to 5 or 6 of these other ones that are just as cool, maybe just a little more low key, and I'd rather go to 5 or 6 of those.
I don't disagree. I mean, I have lots of friends that I want to go meet up and SHOT Show with, but that's a personal agenda. But on the other, moving forward, Yeah, Pew Party is another one that we're looking at. Jay the Shooter and Pew Culture Juan. I've been talking to them, guys. You know that, and hopefully we will be going down there and maybe doing some whiskey and windage stuff down there. And also, Mike, do you want to give the official invite? Because Mike, you are the official inviter.
Yeah, Jay, Juan, you're on notice, man. Both of you. Once all the smoke clears with SHOT Show, we want you guys on. We want to hear about. We want to hear about you, your two-way journeys, and we also want to hear about this awesome community gathering that you're setting up, and want to hear all about it, and get all the details. We want to know everything about it so we can tell all of our listeners, all of our followers, as well as get it out to the masses. Man, we're definitely going to look forward to that.
Hell yeah. And guys, I know we have a great show planned, so I don't want to drag it on. I will say that we do have a review this week on the Whiskey and Windage YouTube reviews page, channel. I always say page, it's a channel. But it's going to be on the Swamp Fox LPVO right there. So go check that out, guys. It will be on the, once again, Whiskey and Windage Reviews YouTube channel.
Awesome. Well, guys, we have a great feature today. We got to sit down and talk with Andrew and Keith, the parents of Keith, the father of the 2A boys, and Andrew, the father of Tactical Mia. Let them air it all out for our 2A spotlight this week. So we're going to enjoy some of that. Let's bring them in.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
All right, guys, to get to our next segment, we have our 2A Spotlight. I'd like to welcome on our guest tonight. Welcome back, actually, Keith, father of the 2A boys, and Andrew, father of Tactical Mia. Welcome, guys.
Good to be here.
Great to see y'all again.
Well, guys, welcome on today. Obviously, we did bring you on to go a little more in depth into that article posted about a month ago now. We're getting almost to a month. It's about there. But what we want to talk about is not necessarily the article that talked about the children. We want to get the parents' responses, not what they were talking about necessarily with the kids, yes and no, but really it's about the parents and how you guys feel about it. And getting to the first question, I'm going to go to Andrew first. What's been the overall response since the article's come out? Like, what kind of responses have you received?
Yeah, so it's honestly been overwhelmingly positive. A lot of the stuff that they go into in the article is based on just a lack of education of what they're talking about. So I think a lot of people were, jumping in there and putting their 2 cents in, of course. But yeah, overall, I mean, these things I don't really see them as a negative because everybody else is going to see the truth for what it is. And at the end of the day, we just keep doing what we're doing and having fun with it, and developing our children that the way that we see fit. And that's pretty much the gist.
I'm kind of glad to hear that, honestly, with the negative. I mean, it seemed like a fairly negative tone from the article, in my opinion, and I was thinking it was going to bring some of those trolls out of the woodwork. But I'm glad that you've had just kind of the complete opposite experience both of you have on what you've actually interacted.
So when that initial article came out, we had a podcast ready to go, and the day it came out, we dropped a podcast talking about it, and we dropped a reel, and we got some traction from the writer. He responded to us on social media about it, and we didn't really talk too much about it. We let a lot of it digest. We wanted to get the full article out. We wanted to hear everything before we did too much, but the author did reach out to us and talk to us a little bit, and he declined to come on. He said that USA Today said that would be a bad look for them because it would make the media, it would look like the media was against the 2A community. Go figure, right? So he declined. He didn't want to come on, which is fine. That's his right. That's their right. So
aren't they though? Aren't they? Maybe it's just me. I'm reading the room wrong. Maybe it's just
I don't know. I mean, we gave him a platform to come talk to us, and very professional. And he declined. He was very professional about it, but did decline and said maybe in the future. But what was interesting was about a week later, USA Today dropped that reel on Twitter and on Instagram about the whole, like, how would you feel about this? And there was a lot of inaccuracies there, honestly. And I think Mike's going to actually pick some of those apart for us because they stated things that just aren't true. And that's a problem with the media now, especially if you're going to be used to today. Speaking things that aren't true is kind of an issue. And I think, Mike, you want to touch on
it. Mentions your son, Keith. It says, Grant Davis has the perfect AR-15 for you. It has a muzzle brake for straighter shooting, an extended magazine release for faster reloads, and a tactical handguard. And I've kind of let all of you know offline my thoughts on this, and the best way I can bring this to light for listeners is to equate it to something that gun owners and non-gun owners alike can find some common ground on and see a comparison of. And to a muzzle brake, both of you guys, I mean, muzzle brakes will help with accuracy to a point, but if it was in a car, to me, it's kind of like it's kind of like a shock absorber. It gives you that comfortable ride. That muzzle brake is going to take the recoil or as much of it out of the gun as possible to allow for that second, third, fourth shot, and not just pound you and bruise you up. I mean, is that accurate to you guys? I mean, is that kind of what you guys feel?
Yeah, and on that rifle particular, that's exactly what it is. I mean, that's a patented design that it does very well.
Right, just as if shock absorbers were on a car. If we took them all off, I mean, we have a Jeep, and I have one, so I can say that. But we pretty much have a Jeep. But that's the extent. So I think when he, in the second line of this article he wrote, he and the editor are debunking themselves and discrediting themselves without even knowing it. The extended mag release, does it allow for faster reloads? I think that repetition allows for faster reloads, regardless of what your hand size is or what your body type is or your build. An extended mag release is built for those with smaller hands, whether you're male, female, young, old, none of that matters. It's all about comfort. And to me, I kind of think it's kind of like an adjustable seat in a car. If the seat was fixed and just was bolted down and it was made for a guy that was, 6'2", Matt, you could drive it okay, but some of these pro basketball guys could never drive a car. And short people like myself and Adam, especially.
You've seen how tall I am.
Yeah.
There's a lack there.
Yeah. I mean, Adam would have like the little wooden blocks to his shoes so he could reach the pedals. But it's I say that jokingly, but it's serious. I mean, a mag release, could it help you reload faster? Yeah. If you practice a lot with it, but I'll flip it. Could a shortened mag release help you? Well, if that's what you practiced with, take a stopwatch and time your first time mag changing to your 50th time. You're going to be faster. It's the repetition. It's not the piece. I mean, Andrew, how do you feel, when it comes to that?
What's that? The extended mag releases and stuff?
Yeah, like when he's saying, so far talking about, a muzzle brake or a mag release. I mean, I know listening to the podcast, the other one you were on.
I think where I was going before was I wasn't really into competition shooting before Mia got into it. And I also wasn't, I actually was not, I was more like a tinker. I just like to have guns and tinker with them and go to the range here and there and just practice for fun purely. And then when Mia came along, it was more or less a conversation I would have with my wife periodically, like, hey, she's getting to be a little bit older and we should teach her gun safety because we have guns in the house. Mm-hmm. Like most Americans. I mean, it's like you got tools in the house, you got knives, you got screwdrivers, you got hammers, you got everything in the house that you want your kids to know, about them and whether or not they can use them in a certain way or whatever the case is. So firearms are no different. I was just never really, the competition world was new to me as of recent. And so I learned all the different modifications that, that custom guns have so that it helps you to do speed shooting a lot easier. And, the competition shooting world is much like any other sport. When you're in running, you're going to have specific running shoes, or whatever the case is. So the firearms are no different. You tailor the firearms to your specific type of shooting that you're doing, right? And yeah, pieces like muzzle brakes or extended mag releases and stuff. These are all just, like changing out your shoelaces for your shoes. Like if you don't like the same color shoelaces, you know what I mean? Like it's all
Exactly.
little things like that though, that depending on your hand size and your muscular build and all that kind of stuff, you might change certain parts in the gun, make it easier to manipulate, so that way at the end of the day it's safer for you. And I think that's the key too, is when you're dealing with firearms, is you want to make sure that the guns that you buy are not a one size fits all t-shirt, and you can make them yours so that you can manipulate them in a safe manner. And that's how we do it anyways. It's all about making sure that, for Mia anyways, all the guns are kind of tailored that she can safely handle them, and do what she needs to do.
Yeah. I mean, so the last thing that he said in that sentence, I'll go ahead and wrap up with, is he said a tactical handguard. And anytime someone says tactical to me, it makes me just want to face palm, because I think us as a 2A industry created this problem with the word tactical, because the first time I started hearing the word tactical was in marketing. Hey, get this new tactical this new tactical that. I mean, now they have, tactical pants and tactical keychains and tactical water bottles. And it's like, what, like, okay, but we used that word, and what ended up happening was people found a way to use that word against us. So in my definition, a tactical handguard is going to be something that you can attach a flashlight, or for that matter, any two objects to, other than a point for a sling. Like if you can attach things to it, it's tactical. So to me, all tactical means in their eyes is it holds things. So like I said earlier, it's talking about cars, I think it's a cup holder. It can hold cups, it can hold loose change, it can hold your phone or your phone mount, it can hold your car keys if you have one of those wireless push button starts and the car keys just sit there. To me, it holds a lot of things. So I guess our cup holders are tactical in my eyes. And as dumb as that sounds,
Fair argument, bro.
no, but I mean, as dumb as that sounds, that's all a tactical handguard is. Now, if a tactical handguard, on the pick rails, if those sides were sharpened like it was built-in bayonets, and there was I don't know, some other crazy weapon that like transformed out of it, yeah, call that tactical. But all we're doing is we're buying these pick railed handguards that are basically cheese graters, and if we don't put something on them, all we're doing is just rubbing our hands raw. So I mean,
That's right.
I don't know what tactical means. I mean, Keith, what are your thoughts on a tactical handguard?
Tactical handguard. I hate shooting with gloves, but so I got the little rubber things on mine. But what I think he's done here is he's used all these buzzwords in this first paragraph, all the buzzwords that you hear to fearmonger the ignorant non-gun people, and to start the shape of this article.
Yeah, and and hey, hats off to this guy for using those buzzwords. And I do want to say, before Matt gets into it, one thing I was actually surprised of, and I'll be the first to say it, I don't agree with his outlook, but Keith, when they first came out with this article, I was bracing, man. I was like, oh crap, it's about to get bad. And when I read his article, and when I read his article, I was like, you know what? I respectfully disagree with this man, and I'm discounting everything at every turn. But did he insinuate, or try to make you think, hey, this isn't right? A little bit, but did he actually bash or berate? I don't really think he did.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's my friend or I'm going to invite him over to, watch a football game. But, I mean, I don't think he did any injustices at that point. How do you feel? Because you were named, both of you.
Right at no point Did he say any of the kids that were mentioned in the article were unsafe or didn't know what, or irresponsible, didn't know what they were doing?
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, when you read that article for the first time, not the reel that comes out later, but just that initial just that initial article. Other than the fact I did hear that he was originally using your child's picture for Sandy Hook, or Sandy Hook was using it, and you had to put a stop to that. But other than that, what were your initial thoughts on that article?
Well, I don't know. The article didn't really bother me that much because the way it was written, we specifically told him and other organizations that have attempted to contact us or use Mia's name or pictures or video in some kind of way that they're not allowed to do that, and I don't give that permission to anybody. So that's really all I have to say about that to any of those guys that are, because we're just it's not really worth it to get into it. It's kind of like you have two completely different people talking about different things. I wouldn't argue, with a professional football player about his sport, and he probably shouldn't argue with, a professional basketball player about his sport. It wouldn't make any sense, right? So I knew that talking to anybody about this that's not in the 2A community or not in the sport that we're in is going to get it wrong regardless. So I just it didn't actually bother me, the article. Of course, it's unfortunate that we do have people out there, and a lot of them in America, that are just not educated on the subject of the Constitution of the United States or policy or laws in general. But that's you're free in America to get as much or as little education as you want. So that's, at the end of the day, that's just what it is. So
No, I absolutely agree to that.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree to that. And so once all that was written, then they started to leak out that reel. They also started to it also started to ramp up. You could tell, I guess, they weren't getting the response they wanted, and I frankly think it was because it wasn't offensive. It was just they're writing their piece, and you know what? Freedom of speech, First Amendment, you do you. You didn't bash anybody, you didn't defame anybody. Did you make it sound taboo? Slightly, but it doesn't bother anybody because we all know we're not going to change his mind, and he knows that he's not going to change ours. So it was just kind of left at that. And I honestly think he wanted to, it wasn't getting the traction. And so the company, and this is just my opinion, but I think that they were like, okay, we got to do something else to get a little more traction with this because it's not quite taken off. So Matt, I'll let you go ahead because some stats were taken, they were dropped, and they're just not for this story. It's in general, and it also aids in their plight for gun grabbing. So Matt, go ahead.
So I will concede that they definitely didn't slander anyone. They didn't say anybody was dangerous. They didn't call anybody out of name. But they continue to use statistics that are provided, and the mainstream media just continues to use it over and over again. One of those being pretty prevalent by the CDC. And there was a reference. The author quoted Jeremy M. Edwards, said, "Marketing guns to children is aberrant, including the shameful practice of gun manufacturers using social media to encourage children to purchase deadly weapons." White House spokesman Jeremy M. Edwards told USA Today, "This is especially alarming when we know that guns are the #1 killer of kids." So the ignorance doesn't really stop at the corporate media or the CDC, but this is actually a White House spokesperson quoting. But we all know children, nobody under the age of 18 is allowed to purchase a firearm. Allowed to purchase a firearm. Even at 18 years old, you're not allowed to purchase a handgun in most states. and so we all know that's crap. The guns are the #1 killer of kids per the CDC. The word is children, and they use everybody from children from 0 to 19 years of age, and they're including suicides, gang violence, and then they're using this statistic to twist it to make it look like kids are just being indiscriminately murdered all the time by firearm violence. Even adults, 18 to 19 years old, a lot of 17-year-olds that are included in that violence are out doing very adult things when they're subject to that violence. Really, I don't have a whole lot of questioning, but how do you guys feel? Do you feel like gun companies, big manufacturers, are asking you or wanting you to market towards
Kids can't buy guns
Yeah, I mean,
legally. Criminals don't buy guns legally either.
right?
mm-hmm.
Right. So
And there's laws in place that prevent that. Mike, you're an FFL. You're not going to you're not going to risk your business or prison time selling a weapon to anybody underage or somebody that doesn't pass the background check.
Yeah, no. I made that joke and I told all of you guys offline about it, but it was like, yeah, when was the last time, you sat in line and were waiting to check out at the counter at the gun shop to buy your ammo and had to wait on that 12-year-old to finish his 44.73 for his Glock 17. Like, yeah, I hate when that happens. It takes forever. They write so slow.
oh man,
It's crazy to me, and I hate that we have to sound so childish and so parochial when we make those jokes, but it's serious because there is a percentage of this population that believes, because of this article, they look at it and they believe that, holy cow, kids are able to buy guns now? What's going on? And well, heck yeah, that's bad. We need to get rid of that. Well, I'm telling you now too, if kids could buy guns, I'd be protesting with you. That's not a good look for, not for the 2A community, just for our country. That's not a good look. If there was a call to action like there used to be in, Civil War, revolutionary times, where you had to give certain children of certain age guns to go defend this country, that's a completely different conversation that I'm not even ready to have, because that's just we're opening Pandora's box. But as far as day to day, I don't know, it just I don't know, it just kind of irks me. Andrew, I mean, when you hear stuff like that, does it, I guess, what's it how does it run through you? How does it hit you?
Well, it's just odd to hear, because again, going back to my analogy of when someone else is talking to another person about a completely different sport and trying to criticize or argue about a sport, if you got a professional football player and a professional, golfer arguing about their own sports and the intricacies between them, it's like nobody would watch that because there's no good factual content to be had there. And so it's the same with something like this, where you have somebody that is basically just saying a bunch of stuff that is not true. And the law, I mean, it's like pertaining to the kids thing specifically. Okay, kids can't buy guns, so why bother even saying that? So, and then same thing with what was something about walking down the street? There are no kids, there are no underage kids walking around the streets brandishing guns, and if they are, by the way, that's illegal, and none of us are advocating for that behavior. Obviously, I mean, everybody on this podcast, we follow the laws and we are really, good law-abiding citizens. And so it just doesn't happen, with our circle. But yeah, it again, just going back to your question, how do I feel about it? It's just unfortunate, again, when people talk about specific categories that they really don't have any knowledge in. And I mean, I guess we just kind of have to correct them, right? And just let them know, hey, that's not the case here. You gotta educate yourself a little bit before posting about this kind of content here, right? So
Yeah. I'd be willing to bet too that most of the people that are gun grabbers, if you could somehow get them away from all of their friends and all of their peers that would judge them, I don't know. I'm not advocating kidnapping, but if you could blindfold one, throw them in a van, take them to Texas, and put them on a shooting range in a safe environment and say, hey,
That
give
Florida
this
man
a
stuff.
shot. Yeah, or Florida man.
Florida,
Give this a
Florida man.
Yeah, Florida man will get them. But give this a go. Tell me you don't feel something. Tell me you don't feel that raw adrenaline, and tell me this isn't fun. I would be hard pressed to say when they got back, they would say, oh, that was terrible and they mistreated me. But there would probably be quite a few smiles and a few laughs during that, except for the whole kidnapping part. But I mean, I say that jokingly, but like
Outside of the kidnapping, we had a great time.
It's a really fun sport. And maybe the higher caliber, louder percussion stuff isn't for you, but that's where you can get into. I mean, there are people who make a living shooting a 22 caliber rifle, and they make a really good.
I guess my big deal is that in today's day and age, it seems like there's a lot of ignorance in firearms, and a lot of that ignorance does have access to very large platforms. So it was really good. Really relieved to hear that you guys had a positive experience from it, but it still seemed to me like, wow, this is a lot of uneducated opinion that's portrayed to the masses, and with kind of a darker or dangerous taboo undertones.
Yeah, then what I want to do next is, Adam, why don't you take it in and let's go ahead and talk about the fun stuff.
So when it comes to even social media, are either one of you two monetized? And if so, is it even lucrative? Andy, why don't you go first?
So with social, no, we don't have any monetization capabilities on social media. I mean, maybe the capabilities there, I don't know, but we don't have any way of making any money right now with them. I mean, I've seen other people with maybe millions of followers. Could you have some type of business venture with those followers and sell a product or something? Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure. We don't sell any products. Mia doesn't sell any products. We don't have any monetization features on our social medias enabled. And so I don't really know what that looks like anyways, but even so, I would imagine, I'm not really sure. Right,
what about you?
Yeah, we're not monetized at all.
Okay, so and that's another thing. I think they did kind of talk about that a little bit too, about companies, about they're getting monetized and making money on social media. And I don't think people realize in our realm of the world, like, we're not making, your Grand Thumbs make some money, your Caleb Savants, or like Mike said, the bigger people. But in the gist of it, like, a lot of us, there's not money being made here lucratively. There's probably a few that are, but we don't know that. I can only talk to you two right now. So let's say that in the future, both of you become monetized and find ways to make money. What would you guys do? Would it be safe for their college funds? Would it go towards increasing the videos? Like, let's say, Andrew, like, tomorrow the YouTube channel does make money. Like, what would you do at that point with that money?
Well, Mia knows what investing is and how to invest her money. So I guess if in the future there was some way to make money in sport shooting, in the competition world, or in her world of sport shooting, she knows how to handle it. It would just probably go into like a Roth, or 401k, and or invest in her education fund for the future, college fund, if that's what she wants to do. If she wants to go to college, then but the reality is, the firearms industry, there's no money here. I mean, there's just there's just not. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting rich, or even close to rich, in the firearms community when you're dealing with just firearm topics. Now, if you're a big YouTuber that has other products to sell that are doing something one-off that's not necessarily like a gun part or something like that, then there might be more money in that niche. But as far as like guns are cheap, mostly overall. When you're looking at our industry, guns and gun parts, this is not a rich man's, or well, sports shooting. I guess if you're buying a bunch of ammo, might be a rich man's sport because it's
Right.
expensive to keep shooting and to keep practicing as much as some of these people do. But as far as the actual tools and the firearms, I mean, they're cheaper, and so yeah, there's not a whole lot of money in this industry, that's for sure.
So Keith, what about you, Keith? If you guys become monetized in the future, let's say on YouTube or whatnot, what would be like? And by the way, Andrew, I want to commend you because you said something that I really liked. You said Mia's money. It wasn't our money, or being that you're doing a lot of this work. You said her money, and I really respect that. That's just the sound of a good father.
Yeah,
that's really taking, yeah. So Keith, what about you?
Well, the boys, they would probably use it to continue supporting their habit.
Yeah.
It's an expensive hobby, and they do it wisely. They want to continue to grow in the industry. As we've spoken before, James wants to continue to market this 2A boy brand that we're building.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And traveling to the different events that we go to, it's all.
Yeah, I don't think people understand that either. I mean, we're talking on this podcast. We've already, earlier in the podcast when we do our 2A news segment, we talk about all of the shows that are coming up, and we're talking with Jay and Juan about Pew Party 3.
Yeah.
And people go out there at that show, and we're going to try to do something out there with them. But little do people know, I mean, it's a couple $100 just to get through the gates there. And that doesn't count
Traveling.
That doesn't count your flights, your food, your rental car, because you can't fly to Waxahachie. You got to go to Dallas if you're flying, and then you got to drive in, and you got to have somewhere to sleep. I mean, all this stuff adds up, and me thinking about going myself, I mean, $1,000. I could only imagine you going with at least two more. I mean, bless you.
No, it's tough. And traveling, and people don't realize that all these cool events are awesome, but they do. I mean, no one's paying for all of our stuff. I know you get some, you can get help with it, but at the end of the day, they don't realize we're paying for a lot of this when we travel to places or going to SHOT Show or any of these other events. They're super expensive. Just traveling is expensive, period. So it's
and
it's
that's
not easy.
What it takes. I'm sorry. That's what it takes to have gotten to the point we're at.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone to these events and met people. The social media side of it, that's what it is today. To put yourself out there. Youth sports, baseball, football. The scouts are looking at social media to showcase their talents now.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
why should
for what it sounds,
this be different?
Go ahead.
I mean, why should this be any different?
But
I say that.
so here's what
jokingly.
here's what I'm hearing from both of you guys. When we talk about how much money you both have made from having your kids in the sport, it sounds like you're both. If you talked about the investment of how much money you've made, it sounds like you're both negative because you've probably put more money into it than you've ever gotten out. And that's the thing I think people have to realize. You're doing this because you're doing this for your children because it's something they love to do. It's a sport. It's a passion. You're doing it to better them. It's not, there's no one's taking advantage of your children. You're not taking advantage of your children. There's no company taking advantage of your children. We're not marketing towards kids. We're getting kids into a sport. And I think that's the takeaway that I wish USA Today would have went with, but we know they're not going to because of the narrative.
I don't think for non-gun owners, non-competition shooters, 2A people, I don't think they understand. When you go to these competitions, I mean, you're there competing, with your daughter. I mean, your gun is to remain in your holster at all times until you step unloaded until you step to that station, and then at that point, an RSO is going to instruct you on what to do before the buzzer goes off. Once it goes off, they are not going to let you leave that station until you have fully cleared that weapon, put it back in the holster, and walked away. So at no point as you're just walking around talking to all these other people, are you guys pulling your guns out and saying, hey, check this cool thing out here and waving it, or, you know,
Nope.
all of that stuff? But in
Yeah.
all your videos, though, you're on private ranges or you're on public ranges, either way, but you are on ranges nonetheless.
We're in a controlled environment. There's
And-
somebody standing behind him. There's generally 3 or 4 people standing behind him, all watching and keeping everybody safe.
Yeah, and you know, once it's done, just like when you finish competition shooting, once you're done, you know,
His weapon
you
is
stand there,
holstered.
you stand there for a second. Your weapon is cleared. Your weapon is holstered, and at bare minimum, it is put on safe and then holstered.
Yep.
Matt, do you want to go ahead and wrap it up here? I know you had a couple more things to ask, and then we can wrap it up. I think this has been a good conversation. Honestly, guys, I think it's been good to hear your sides of it and understand, get it out there that these companies aren't paying you. You're not making all this money. This is a sport that you're teaching your children. For one, not just teaching them how to be an athlete or to be a competitive shooter, but you're teaching them gun safety, the importance of all these things that translate into other things in life as well, not just firearms. So I commend both of you for being outstanding fathers and raising your kids right.
Amen.
Yeah. And definitely, I do want to keep in touch, Andrew. I do want to keep in touch with you. I talk with Keith only because if you get out and start doing any traveling and you're in the area, I'd definitely love to just come up, shake your hand. Maybe we can grab a bite to eat if you're in town or if we're in the same spot. You know, just good brotherhood, nothing more.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Heck yeah, man. Well, Matt, you take the lead, brother.
Okay, so again, we appreciate you guys coming on. I got a couple of just quick fire questions, just to get a quick reply. I'm sure we already know how you're probably going to answer these, but we wanted to get them out there for everybody to know the answer. But we'll start with Andrew. Has the article or the response from the article changed your outlook on what you're going to post social media wise for Mia's competitions? Are you going to
No.
change anything you're doing?
No. There's nothing to change because all we're doing is we're just recording her professional events, professional shooting events, sporting events, and we're just posting them to kind of document and to be able to watch later, you know, with friends and family. Actually, the whole reason why I started social media channels, and I'm terrible at social media, is because I wanted to make sure our family could see, you know, what an awesome job she was doing and stuff. Because you know, you want to show your grandparents and all that kind of stuff. When your kids in sports, the grandparents always want to see how the kid's doing in their sports. So that's kind of one of the big reasons why we started it, and so that other people could see it too. But yeah, mainly our social channels were all started for those reasons. And anyway, yeah.
Good. Wouldn't want it to change in. And Keith, I think I already know the answer. Is this changing the way you and the boys post content?
Well, we've been hammered since the videos, or since the article. They're taking content down that with no warning. Where we've had to get a little creative. I'm sure y'all have noticed the past couple weeks some stuff that we're posting without guns in it, and because the second we post anything with the boys shooting, it's getting taken down. So we're having to make some changes there because we were forced to, not because we want to.
Yeah.
Right.
So and we've got ideas turning as to how we can continue to grow, and if they're going to keep hammering on us, we've got to figure out a way to keep getting our message out.
Amen. So both of you were contacted about the article before it was written and published, I assume. Mm-hmm. When it was brought up to you, we'll start with Keith this time. When it was brought up to you, when it was mentioned, did it all work? The end result, is it what you had in your mind's eye would be accomplished with the article? Did
I
it
think
do what you thought it was going to happen?
I mean, I wanted to get my side out there. I wanted to get my words, and so we agreed to answer the guy's questions.
Okay.
I expected our pages to gain more exposure or gain followers. They've probably gotten exposed, but the challenge it is to get people to hit that follow button. I expected more of that, but it hadn't turned out that way.
Okay.
That could be because of the throttling back from the social media companies. I think they all sit in the same office building as mass media.
Oh yeah, play on the same golf course. We know.
Yeah, meta. Yeah.
And Andrew, how about you? When you were approached about the article, when you were talking about it, I don't know how much participation in the article you actually had, but you did have some knowledge that it was being written and published before it was published. Did it perform? Did it come out the way that you thought it would? Were you excited? Were you disappointed? What was your feeling on that?
No. Well, like I said, I the article didn't really bother me that much because he didn't push it over the edge. So I think that USA Today and Nick, they were looking to do the same. As I think all these guys are looking to do the same thing. They can push the limits to what could be legal still and what they can do with your words and with your kids by exploiting your children. But in our case, he didn't do that because, again, I told him that that he's not allowed to.
I do want to ask, like, is there any final statements from you, Andrew, about the subject? A last final statement, and then if you would like to, we also want to invite you to shout out Mia's social handles and where her content can be found.
Where the fans can find her.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we have the Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, and it's all tactical _ Mia. I think on most of them.
Okay.
So yeah, it's there. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find because, again, in our community, we're all shadow banned. We're all banned openly, right? So.
Keith, did you have any final statements about the article, about mainstream media, and then a quick shout out for you and the boys' social media accounts?
Mike just said the Second Amendment. That's been a part of this. That is in the founding documents of this country, and training kids on the Second Amendment has been part of the founding of this country. So we're going to continue to do that. There is nowhere that has ever changed in this history until recently. The left has decided to start fear-mongering it. And along with, while they're trying to teach children things that I'm not going to mention on here because that's a whole other hour and a half.
That's another podcast.
Yeah, that's another podcast.
Yeah, not this podcast.
So that's where we're at, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Good. And where can the people find you guys?
They can find us on Facebook, the 2A Boys, Instagram, the 2A Boys. We've got a whole 2A family of pages on Instagram. And actually, we just figured out yesterday that if you Google the 2A Boys, we are the second line when it pops up on a Google search.
Who are the first?
I don't know.
Who's the first?
Hey, you know who it is? It's Adam. He's already took rights to it. He's posing with a picture of himself.
He's the right height.
I'll be sending you a letter. My attorney's going to send you a letter. And we're on YouTube. Our YouTube has been starting to grow this week, actually. So,
Very
the 2A Boys on YouTube.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. And 2A Tootsie, right? Don't you gotta shout her out too, right?
Oh yeah,
You can't leave the dog out.
The
Don't
kids
leave the
took her
dog.
next door, so she didn't have to put her 2 cents in on this podcast.
She's very passionate.
She is incredible.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, we here at Whiskey and Windage, anybody who's watched the episode this long, we want to thank you both very much for taking the time. I'm not a father, but I know that this could probably be a sensitive subject, and I think you both have a great outlook on it. Took it with a grain of sand of what was printed. Sounds like everybody kind of knew what was going to make it to print media, and it sounds like you guys are handling it awesome. And I know all of us here at Whiskey and Windage, we're excited to keep seeing them grow. So thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
So on behalf of everybody, Andrew, Keith, we appreciate it, guys, and keep us in the know when you guys start traveling. So we're definitely going to try to look you up and link up.
Please.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
All right, boys. I think we had a great show today. We do really want to thank our special guests in the 2A Spotlight. Keith, the father of the 2A boys, and Andrew is Tactical Mia's dad. They came on and shared their thoughts. We really want to show them some thanks. I am going to make sure that we link their socials down in the description below so that all of you guys can also check them out, show them some love. We want to make sure to get over, check out Adam's full-length review on that Swamp Fox. It's over on Whiskey and Windage Reviews page. That's the channel where we actually try everything out. We've got some, we're actually doing some shooting, putting the products to the test. With that being said, if you have a product you want us to try out, if you have a service you'd like us to try, or you want to be a guest on our show, do hit us up. Get in contact with Whiskey and Windage, send an email, send a direct message to myself or Mike at OCA, Adam at Silver Bullet, and we'll get it worked out. We'd love to hear from you. So that being said, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.